Hi, family. Back again. I talked about journaling. I've talked about the index cards. Hopefully, a lot of you were able to either purchase that or even buy it online and start that journey. Now, I'm going to give you a little background on me. Okay. I think I went into that I was from a middle class family, maybe a little bit lower middle class. We didn't have any much money. But as a kid, you don't really realize that. Um, and, my parents had 6 children, so they just didn't have time. I was an empath from the time I could ever remember, and I was the scapegoat. I became the scapegoat. I had an older brother and sister that were pretty vicious. I don't know if it's because they were spoiled beyond recognition or what the reason was, but they were pretty messed up, and they tortured me. They abused me. My brother sexually abused me. There's so much stuff that went on. Half of it I still don't remember, and I've been through regression therapy for 3 years. So, excuse me, I just drank some lemon juice. It's been really, really insane. But that abuse when I was 8 years old, the sexual abuse, there was abuse before that, but the sexual abuse with 4 or 5 of his friends there doing this on a regular basis, it was almost like he was selling me out to his friends, like he was the pimp, you know. And when my mother found out, from that point on, I was never treated the same. My mother had an attitude with me, and the older and prettier I got, the more of an attitude she got. Now remember, this was her oldest son. I don't know if my father ever knew, but he also started to change towards me, so maybe he did. One of the things abusers do is they try to make you think you're mentally insane. It's called gaslighting. My brother was brilliant at that, and he worked that really well, especially after he was caught. I started getting very bad headaches after this sexual abuse, and I remember there was one night, and remember, I'm 8 years old, I had a crippling headache. I guess it was a migraine, probably from stress. And stress where I couldn't talk to anybody. I knew this would happen to me, and I was being silenced. So my older brother took my 2 younger brothers, and they started saying, "I'm going to die. Jeannie's going to die." Like that type of thing running around me as I lay on the couch, literally running around me like chanting. It's almost like demonic in a way. I think he was bringing in these really dangerous entities without maybe even realizing it. Maybe he didn't. I mean, remember, he was much older than me. So I started shaking uncontrollably. And I don't know who ran to get my mother, but someone did. It was probably one of my sisters. Not my oldest sister. She would never try to help me when it came to my brother hurting me. She was always with him. It was probably my younger sister at that point before she was toxified by them all. But my mother comes running, and I'm literally shaking. I can't stop shaking. My whole body is like having some type of an episode that I've never had in my life. So she gets my father, who's working in the garage. He had a second business that he ran out of his garage. And he comes running in, and he rushes me to one of his friends who happened to be a psychiatrist. He was also a doctor, and that's the only person he knew because he was close by. So the doctor had said I was having a nervous breakdown. Maybe I was. I don't know. And they gave my father Valium. From this point on, I was now mentally insane. I'm not kidding. I was mentally insane. I was labeled mentally insane because I was tortured by my older brother and my 2 younger brothers. I don't know how this happens in a family, but that's bad. And that's bad parenting. The fact that my mother allowed that to go on is disgraceful. My brother, that I know of, never, ever suffered a repercussion for being caught molesting me. he was still treated like this wonderful golden child that could do no wrong, even though he was a con artist, a thief, and I'll go on about him later. But it was pretty tragic. So, that set me up in life, because what my brothers and sisters, because they all started infecting each other. It was really odd, and I became the giant scapegoat. Destroy her, destroy her. Now, let me just put a little backstory. I happen to be incredibly beautiful, but I did not know it at the time. I always thought I was so ugly because I had a low self-esteem. It wasn't until at 25 I was offered a top modeling gig with Revlon, or in one of those Estee Lauder, I can't remember. I think it was Revlon. I turned it down like a dummy because I had no self-esteem. I didn't bring my mother because my mother did not support me in those things. She thought they were frivolous and ridiculous and, things like that. Anything with acting, I wanted to be an actress. She didn't support me, They never supported me. But my friend happened to submit a photograph of me, and they actually picked it. And I did go on the interview, and it was some interview. The guy said, "We picked your photograph out of hundreds." So it was interesting. When I said that I wasn't sure if I was going to take it, he literally looked at me like, "Are you crazy?" It's like they offered me a lot of money, like almost $2 million to start. So the reality of it is that my low self-esteem destroyed my life. But where did that come from? It came from being told I was mentally insane, I was ugly, I was always being told I was this or that or fat, even though I was very skinny. I don't know how people said that, but they did. And it was even transcending my brothers and sisters. My best girlfriend was constantly putting me down. It was really scary. But I was attracting malignant narcissists. This is what I've talked about. So this has started to ruin my life. And I'll never forget the one girlfriend who I brought with me. I met her at church. I was going to the Bethlehem Assembly of God at that time. And she did not want me to take this job. And I look back and I realized it was out of intense envy. And envy rots the bones. And at that point, she wanted the worst for me. She could not see anything good for my life, And she ended up actually dumping me when my life went really bad, But that's what narcissists do. And this is what you attract when you are a victim of narcissistic abuse, especially if it's so much, like every one of your brothers and sisters, Your mother went on the side of protecting a narcissist, as maybe, I don't know if my father knew, but he started saying I was mental too. So it was a really hard thing for me. I could not find a therapist that would help me. Thank God for YouTube, because it's really helping people understand narcissistic abuse, I'm telling you. So, so that was like the start of very bad things, okay, in my life. I was being set up, and that's just one scenario. I will get into others, but I'm sure you all have scenarios, and I would love for you to write them down. If you feel safe writing them down, I would love for you to write them down, because not only would I like to learn about what other people are going through, and also so you could help each other, I want you to use the comments as a forum. And maybe someday I will open up a website with a forum. But right now, I'd like you to use the comments as a forum and talk about maybe something that happened to you. And I also was thinking that I would put this into a book, if, and only if I was allowed to use your comments, but I would put this into a book of like experiences of people who went through horrible challenges because they were targeted, they were gaslighted. So I'm going to leave. I don't want this to be too long because I want to make sure that you are all can listen. You have time to listen. If you do want it longer, let me know, okay? Because I can do that too. So at this point, I'm going to sign off, and I'm wishing you all peace, blessings, and love. And I'm looking forward to speaking to you again. Bye-bye. Kisses.